Hey guys, this is Micah from Black Bear Custom Kydex. I've got a sheath to show you today, and this is a system for a couple of Tops knives. We've got the Tops Puukko here on the front, and the Tops Kukri as the main knife for the system. So this exact combination was something that I had done for Tim of Everyday Tactical Vids a couple years ago now. We've done several collaborations, but that was in the very first batch of sheaths that I built for him. And since then, I've had a few people reach out for pretty much the same sheath system, and oftentimes they're asking for a different knife for the piggyback. But in this case, we have both of the same knives, and a lot of the sheath setup is the same as well. So let's get into this. The customer had asked if I could make a system that would be both baldric as well as drop leg. Drop leg means that you have a dangler, but in addition to the dangler, it's got a leg strap. So drop leg is one of my favorite ways to carry. Having that thigh strap on there to kind of stabilize and keep the sheath from swinging around is a really great option. It also takes a little bit of the weight off of your belt. So I find that when I'm carrying something, a larger knife or particularly heavy system, that if I'm going to have it on my belt, drop leg is probably the way that I would personally prefer to have it. My personal preference when it comes to the heaviest and largest systems is to go with baldric. This to me is the most comfortable carry setup that there is. It's also the most versatile and practical as far as, being able to carry it regardless of what you're wearing. You could be wearing no shirt all the way up to a parka, and you'd be able to figure out a way to make it work with your baldric setup. You can have a pack on and throw this over and still be able to very comfortably wear it, or you can even have this on and then put a pack on over the baldric sling. Obviously it'll then kind of trap this a little bit in place, but you have a lot of options, and I think my favorite thing about it is just that it doesn't require a belt. So if I'm camping or something and I'm going to be mostly just chilling out in the campsite, but I still want to have my knife on me in case I want to take a little walk, baldric system is a great way to go. That allows me to maybe just be in athletic shorts or something like that, where I don't require a belt to still have my sheath system with me. Same thing goes for a chest rig, if you're going to carry a knife on a chest harness. The only thing is with the chest harness that I personally don't like having something that's really bulky or built up or have excuse me, or has a lot of accessories on it. So baldric really is the best way, in my opinion, to carry the largest and heaviest and most complicated sheath systems, because the weight bears very, very comfortably, very easily on your shoulder, and yeah, just seems like it's very quick on and off, easy access, all that good stuff. What I use for a baldric sling, I go to my buddy Jacob over at Beachin Tactical. He does the best webbing work in the world, in my opinion. His baldric slings are fantastic. He is also the guy that I have make my chest harness setups. So he builds a part of it, and then I build the parts that are necessary to make it actually integrate into a sheath. But the webbing work itself is his business, and he does it better than anybody. And actually, just so you can see what one of the harness arms looks like when I buy the harnesses from him, this is pretty much it right here. In fact, it is one of the arms of a harness. So how we kind of figured out what the best method would be for us was, or what we figured would be the best method rather, was for him to just make individual arms for harnesses, and then I would be responsible with my customers for deciding how many arms there are for whatever the setup is that they need. So I have just a whole box full of these right now, and sometimes I'll just take one out of the box and use it for a leg strap. Sometimes I will, if a person wants a baldric setup but they don't want anything fancy, or they don't want to spend the money on a really nice one like this, if they just want the cheapest, quickest solution, they don't really care, I can use one of these leg straps for that as well. It's the budget baldric, I guess. Sometimes I'll grab 3 of them or 4 of them out to make a harness. And actually I got one coming down the pike. It's going to be a detective style holster for a knife. that'll hang under the armpit, and I believe I'll be able to use 2 harness arms to make that happen. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But anyway, the point is Jacob does fantastic work, and all of his stuff is designed with durability as well as versatility in mind. So I absolutely love working with him and love using his gear. So, all right, getting into it. So the color scheme that you're seeing here, which is the same color scheme that I used on Tim's setup way back when, is we've got Flat Dark Earth Fall, I believe, as the base color, and then Cryptek Mandrake. So you can see these earth colors go together really, really nicely. And then on the baldric sling here, we've got Cryptek Mandrake and Coyote Brown for the Paracord. There is a little bonus thrown in here that both of these knives actually have a liner in the seam. So he asked, I did this for Tim's. This was the first time I'd ever done it, and this customer also wanted that. So check this out. It's a little bit of a hard detail to get to show up on camera, but in leather work you would call it a welt, W-E-L-T, and I'm not sure in Kydex if you would call it a welt as well, but you can see that in the middle of this seam you see this layer. On the Flat Dark Earth you've got OD green, and on the Mandrake you've got Coyote Brown, and these colors I think just go together really, really nicely. I know it's not showing up totally perfect on camera, but you get the point. Seamless liners, and it doesn't cause any kind of split down the middle either. These are still just kind of welded together essentially, so it's a perfectly smooth transition. You can't really feel the seam at all. So I really like doing stuff like that. I think it just kind of raises the bar a little bit and gives a little extra detail that is pleasing to the eye. So because of the seams, because there's a thicker layer inside surrounding the knife, the Kydex has a tendency to kind of drop in to the bottom of that blade. So that's what you're seeing there. If you see a little bit of a concave right here, that's just the contour of the blade where the Kydex is being pushed off of the inner seam layer and going down to the sharpened grind on that knife. All right, looking at the accessories on this, he asked me to attach. Down below we have a match cap XL, and this is a product, it's a product from Exotech. Basically, it is a waterproof container that you're supposed to store matches in. Obviously you can store anything you want, but the idea with matches is that you would have obviously protection from the elements, as well as got the sandpaper there and at the bottom, so you've got some surfaces that you could strike a match against, and that should work even if they're wet. Even if the surfaces are wet, I believe the match will still ignite as long as the head of the match isn't wet, unless you got waterproof matches, in which case you'd be all set either way. So that just goes down in there at the bottom. Directly above that you can see we have an Exotech Nano Striker XL. And this guy I decided to do a little bit of a tighter fit on, just because the spacing was getting a little bit crunched here with the match cap. So what I wanted to do was get that in there so it's kind of got to click in. So you just want to grab it by the cord and you can kind of pull it out. It's not hard to pull out. It's a little harder to put back into the sheath, but you'll feel it when it kind of seats into its place and clicks in. This, because it's not a regular ferro rod, obviously you're not going to be wearing down the outside, so it should always fit the same without any issue there. Alright, then on top, this is one of the hardest flashlights I've had to try to put into this style sheath or holder. This is the Olight Warrior X Pro, I believe. Yes, it is. And this is just a tail cap initiated light, and you can see the contour on this thing. It looks a lot like a lightsaber. It's just really, really difficult to deal with because no two parts of this have the same diameter. So most lights don't have any kind of outstanding contour, you know, around here, and I'm able to just kind of create one uniform tube shape that'll fit the widest diameters of you know, the the battery housing, everything except the bezel, and usually it just kind of slides in, has a little bit of a friction hold. With this guy, I actually had to create a little bit of a tapered entering, excuse me, a little bit of a tapered opening, and it does work nicely. It was just really difficult to get it to the point where you could actually use it seamlessly like this. So it's going to have a couple spots that you can stop at. Basically just when you feel that it's locked in place is fine. Also, as you turn it, you can feel there's a slight difference in the tightness because of this odd shaped guard here. I don't even know what that's called in flashlight world, but you can do that, or you can push it, push it down all the way until it really bottoms out. I don't really see a need to do that. That makes it harder to get back out. So personally, I'm not really a fan of that. I say as I get it stuck. There we go. If it does get stuck, just kind of twist it and it'll be able to move a little bit. So the spot where I like to have it stop is with that weird shaped guard still inside the very end of the tube there. As far as the orientation of the light goes, the reason I've chosen to put it there, normally I put my lights on the bottom down here, but where this knife is curved down, you've got a big curve in the handle. I didn't want the handle to potentially inhibit the light, so you should be able to just click your flashlight on and use it even while it's attached to your baldric system. So that means that you've got both hands free with a light beam going out in front of you. So if you really needed it in the night, whatever you're doing, this could come in really handy. It also gives you the chance to manipulate. You've got a pretty good range of motion with the sling attached to you. So even like this, you can almost use it the same as you would any other flashlight in terms of range of motion. Obviously, you've got some limitations with the with the sling itself, but you can loosen it up a little bit, make it a little bit easier to use, and do whatever it is that you have to do. As far as the knives go, now he sent both of these knives back to Tops and asked for them to do their Rocky Mountain tread pattern on the handle scale. So you can see both of these micarta scales have been sculpted to now have this tread. That is a really, really positive thing in my opinion. I personally, one thing that I worry about with the Puukko in general, one thing I always worry about with the Puukko in general is that my hands will slip up onto the blade because there's just not enough contour on the handle. I understand that that's just the style of knife and it serves a function and all that too, but for my taste, I like to have a little bit of security, something to grip my palm a little bit in case I do ever have to do any kind of stabbing task with this, and for fear of slipping right up onto the handle, there's just nothing protecting you whatsoever. The other benefit to having the treads on this knife in particular is that where it doesn't have any handle contour, or it does now, but without the treads it wouldn't have handle contour. With the treads, it's now got something that I can use to create click retention with the Kydex. So as you put that knife in, it does kind of click into place. Not much of a click, but it does click in, and the retention is quite solid. With the Kukri, this one was actually, he'd asked if I could put some kind of lock or retention strap on it as well. So I kept the retention itself a little bit light, so that the strap would actually... Oh man, sorry guys, I'm very yawny this morning. So with the retention being light, the strap actually does quite a bit of work there, keeping that knife locked in there. Has a little bit of a click in. It's got a nice little springy draw to it. So this thing came out really nice. As far as how to operate this retention strap, it's really, really easy. It's a one-way snap, so it's only going to snap downward if you start from the top and kind of roll it onto the snap. Unfortunately, you're not going to hear much of a click when you snap it down, but you'll know when it's at its lowest profile. You'll feel it. It's really easy. And then to get it off, all you have to do is kind of just lift up and just let it flop like that. What I would recommend for putting it back on is come up to the top of the Puukko handle and then just slide it in behind it. Very easy to use, and it functions really nicely. Will the knife draw while that retention strap is on there? Yes and no. You can get it to come part way out, and I'm sure if you muscled hard enough, you could probably get the jimping on the knife to slide past this rubber coated nylon strap. But really, it's pretty hard to do it, so I'd say it does effectively lock the knife in. It's certainly not just going to fall out on you while that strap is locked. So anyway, that's pretty much what I got. Chose brown leather for the dangler here. I'll give you a close-up look at it again. The leg strap. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So converting this to drop leg from what you're currently looking at is super easy. All you have to do is unclip the duffel clips from the 2 D-rings, and that's it. If you want to get rid of the leg strap and the dangler loop to convert this to a baldric only, you got a little more work ahead of you. Real quick, how you're going to do that. Number one, so the dangler loop is really easy. You just got those 2 Phillips head screws. You're going to just back those screws out, open up the loop, and just slide it off the D-ring. You need the D-ring to be there for the baldric setup, so that's got to stay there. This D-ring can go all together if you wanted it to. That's just attached with a single Phillips head screw, but you don't have to take the D-rings off at all. You need this one to stay on. This D-ring has to stay on, but you can get rid of this one if you wanted to. What you're going to want to do is just unthread your leg strap. Now these are currently locked. When I say locked, I just mean using pressure from the hardware. This is something Jacob showed me, why he uses the hardware he uses. You just need to unthread. It's not super hard to do, it's just a little bit time consuming, but you just got to take this out of there, and then you can start unthreading it. So basically, each one of these pieces of hardware, these tri-glide buckles they're called, the strap will pass through them at least 2 times total, and then to lock your strap, you just want to double it back over the top. So skip the first bar, obviously you're going to go back over it, and then down through the second. And to get it to go, you're going to need to like kind of pin it like so that you create the maximum gap in that bar. And then I kind of slip the corner in. It's the easiest way to get it to go. You can just kind of grab that and pull it through. It is really hard to pull through, and that is by design. It's because there's not enough space in there, and the hardware is at a 90-degree angle, so it kind of creates a lot of pressure against the webbing, and it effectively locks it in place. It is impossible for your webbing to come unthreaded or unspooled through those tri-glides when you've done that 3rd layer lock trick that I just showed you. So, all right guys, that is all I've got for you. So tell me what you think of the Tops Kukri and the Tops Puukko. Tell me what you think of baldric carry versus drop leg versus just a regular dangler. I'd like to know your favorite ways to carry these kind of larger, heavier systems. Tell me what you think of adding a seamless liner to a Kydex sheath. Is it overkill? Is it cool? What do you guys think? All right, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thanks for sticking around for 19 minutes of my rambling, and stay tuned for the next one. God bless, guys.